Good afternoon. Welcome to our October 22nd policy session of the Phoenix City Council. I'll call the meeting to order and ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilman Galindo Elvira.
Here.
Councilwoman Guardado.
Here.
Councilwoman Hodge Washington.
Here.
Councilwoman O'Brien.
Here.
Councilwoman Pastor. Councilman Robinson.
Here.
Councilman Waring. Vice Mayor Stark.
Here.
Mayor Gallego.
Here. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll begin today's meeting with council information and follow-up requests, and we'll begin with an update from District 8 Councilwoman Keisha Hodge Washington, followed by Councilwoman Guardado.
Thank you, Mayor. There have been many events since our last policy meeting, but I wanted to highlight just a few. Next slide. I helped to sponsor the second annual Pan-African Food Festival, which was well attended. The festival shared cultural traditions through music and food. It was an educational and fun event. I was also honored to present Irene McDaniel a proclamation from the mayor on her 100th birthday. Irene's decades of volunteerism has guided her through a lifetime of health, love, service, and inspiring faith. Next slide. The Arrowhead Fair Chance Employer Symposium was an impactful program that provided information and guidance about fair chance hiring for justice-involved individuals. The symposium included tips and resources necessary to successfully implement fair chance hiring programs that open doors to a dedicated workforce. I also had the opportunity to speak to the Wichita, Kansas Chamber of Commerce when they visited the city of Phoenix. I spoke to a group of about 70 individuals representing industry, education, nonprofit, and regional governments who wanted to learn more about our Phoenix Bioscience Core. Phoenix has set the standard for technology and precision medicine, and I was proud to share Phoenix's accomplishments with them. Next slide. I also want to give a special thanks to the Neighborhood Services Department, Aviation Department, and Support Sky Harbor Coalition for all of their hard work to organize a very successful neighborhood cleanup near 24th Street and Van Buren, where 22 tons of discarded items were removed by hundreds of volunteers who saturated the area. The neighbors were overwhelmed by the number of those who showed up and were happy about the positive difference it made in their community. Next slide. Saturday, October 19th was Game Day. It's a day we look forward to all year. We had a great time traveling all around the district from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. The weather cooperated and provided a beautiful backdrop to meet with neighbors, community leaders, police, and kids. I want to say thank you to each of the neighborhoods who hosted an event on Game Day. Large and small, they were all valuable and successful events. Next slide. Yes. This year's Pride Parade was also a lot of fun. I wanted to thank all of the departments who participated and represented the city and challenge more employees to participate next year. The city of Phoenix is a diverse place to work and live, and representation matters. I am happy to have walked the parade route with several of my colleagues and want to especially thank our city organizers, Zach Wallace and Stephanie Bracken, who put together a safe and fun event. Next slide. We are also looking forward to our next Levine quarterly meeting in partnership with Council Member Galindo Elvira's office on Thursday, October 24th. The meeting starts at 6 p.m. and takes place at the Cesar Chavez Community Center. I hope that our Levine residents turn out for our department's presentations and a great discussion. Next slide. As always, if you ever need help with any city services or notice an issue in your neighborhood, please do not hesitate to reach out to our office. That is all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. We'll go next to Councilwoman Guardado.
Thank you, Mayor. Our busy event season is continuing in District 5, and my team and I could not be more excited. But first, we had a successful game day last Saturday. We first started, it was a day full of fun, but then we were at Fright Night with Washington Park. So kudos out to the Washington Park Neighborhood Association and all of their hard work. And then we headed over to Scaryville in Maryville. Shout out to Parks and Recs. over at the Maryville Community Center and Jack Swag, who helped us put an event amazing for the community. Our upcoming community events are Friday, October 25th, Trunk or Treat with the North Glen Square Neighborhood Association at the Alhambra Credit Union, 35th Avenue in Orangewood from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Saturday, October 26th, Fall Festival and Color Fun event at the Pendergast Community Center, 107th Avenue in Camelback Road from 9 a.m. until 11:30 a.m. This annual festival is full of children's activities, raffles, food trucks, light performances, and the Color Fun Run. Sunday, October 27th, Trunk or Treat Spectacular with the Camelback Community Association at Maryville Park, 51st Avenue and Campbell Avenue from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Invite your family and friends to enjoy candy, bounce houses, and pumpkins along with the new playgrounds. Saturday, November 2nd is District 5's annual Maryville Turkey Takeaway El Pavazo. Join us as we celebrate with our community by giving away over 1,000 turkeys. Bring your family and friends for an evening filled with culture, fun, and gratitude at the American Family Fields of Phoenix, 3600 North 51st Avenue from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. There will be a car show, food trucks, live music, perfect for kicking off your holiday season, and also celebration for Dia de los Muertos. And we will have a full-on altar that day to honoring and respecting. And finally, I would like to officially welcome Amy Ramirez, a Phoenix native and lifelong Maryville resident, as the new Policy and Research Director for Council District 5. I'm proud to have Amy as a full-time part of my team, and I know she will continue to serve District 5 residents and be a big part of continuing to help improve our community. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Pastor.
Thank you. I'll be waiting for the slides. As I'm waiting, I just want to thank you to Alhambra Neighborhood Association for hosting and another successful gaming event on the 12th. Do we have the slides? Okay. So my game event started actually October 12th. So I also want to thank everybody that has done that. Actually, at Solito Park, I was getting off the car, and next thing I know, I was doing Zumba. Didn't know the dance, but participated and enjoyed it. As you know, on Monday, or the past Monday, it was Indigenous Peoples Day, and I joined Bike to Wherever, Phoenix Metro, for the Cultural Cadence Cycle at Steele Indian School Park, celebrating the rich heritage and ongoing contribution of Indigenous Peoples Day. It was an 8-mile bike ride aimed to unite the cycling community, honor Indigenous cultures, and acknowledge the ancestral lands of the valley. And then game showed up on October 19th. And I started, actually it was rain or shine that day, and I chose to start at 9 o'clock, and I didn't end until 8 o'clock. Ate my way throughout the city, throughout District 4, and enjoyed being with neighborhoods. Then Pride was the next day, and Pride, I enjoy that parade. I enjoy the fun, the adventure, and all the music that goes on. And so I want to thank everybody that was part of Pride, but I also want to thank the city staff for putting together the floats and everything that goes on to demonstrate how we celebrate Pride. And most importantly, I want to thank APS for having me on their on the fire truck. Then I just want to say November is Coffee Chat. It's Wednesday, November 6th from 6 to 7:30. It's at Tacos y Mariscos in Sinaloa, 2808 West McDowell Road. And as always, you can call my district. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Galindo Elvira, and I believe that is our last update.
Thank you, Mayor. Slides. Do we have slides? No, no slides. I extend a warm welcome home and heartfelt thanks to Arizona Task Force 1 for their dedicated service in assisting with the response to Hurricanes Helene and Milton. Next slide. I had a great time at Phoenix Pride on Sunday. It was wonderful to see everyone come together to celebrate diversity, love, and inclusion. The energy was amazing, and I'm proud to support such an important event taking place in the city of Phoenix and in District 4, I might add. A huge thanks to all the neighborhood associations and block watches that took part in game day. I had a fantastic time visiting different areas in District 7 and connecting with so many residents. Next slide. On this Thursday, This Thursday, Councilwoman Hodge Washington and I will be hosting the Levine Quarterly Meeting at Cesar Chavez Community Center from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. We hope to see you there. This Friday, I'm excited to team up with La Campesina Radio to host the Halloween Boo Bash. The event will feature live music, lucha libre, fun prizes, and of course, plenty of candy. Join us on October 25th at Desert Park from 6 to 9 p.m. I hope to see you all there. And as always, if you live in District 7 and want to contact me, it's easy. You can reach out through any of the methods on the screen. I'm here to serve you and greatly value your feedback.
Thank you so much, Councilman. We'll then go to Agenda Item 1. We will do an update on the Police Reserve Division. This is a really special program. We are national leaders in this area. Volunteers power the city, and this is one of our most incredible examples. Also want to let you know we have a law enforcement celebrity in the room, and you'll get to learn who during the presentation. So thank you to our incredible reserves, and I'll turn it over to our Assistant City Manager, Lori Bays, to introduce the item.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, Mayor, members of the council. I am pleased to introduce to you today Assistant Chief Joe Klima and Sergeant Josh Clark, who are going to be presenting to you an update on the Police Reserve Division program, which is, again, one of our programs that we are most proud of. So, Assistant Chief Klima.
Thank you, Ms. Bay. Mayor, council members, it's a pleasure to be here. Actually, pretty excited to be here. First, I'd like to introduce Sergeant Josh Clark, who's sitting next to me. Sergeant Clark has been with us for 27 years. Of that, on two separate stints, he's been our operations sergeant for the Reserve Division for 14 years. He's our consistent on a daily basis since we're volunteers and we're not there every day. So we really appreciate him. Currently, we have 138 police officers, detectives, and supervisors. We are fully integrated within every aspect of the police department. We have the opportunity to help with special events. We're a ready contingent to help out when needed, whatever may come up. And the nice thing is we work seamlessly with our counterparts. We have two ways to get into the reserve program. The first is what we refer to as traditional officers. These are just average citizens who have jobs and have had a lifelong desire to become reserve officers or to serve the citizens as police officers. Interesting to note, they keep their job and they still participate with our program. They undergo the exact same hiring process, background, and investigations as our career peers. And I guess the only difference is the academy they go to, which is a standalone, post-approved academy, is 11 months long. And that they go every Wednesday, Thursday, and all day Saturday for 11 months. It's a lot of dedication. That includes keeping their day job. And they take the same test and the same curriculum that a career officer would. And when they're done, they're full authority police officers. We graduated a class just last month. And actually, if you look at these faces, you'll probably see some of these faces in the audience today. But now they're full police officers and they're in the field training program. I'd like to introduce Scott Waite. And Scott, if you could raise your hand. Scott is a career officer. He's our recruit training officer for all of our reserve classes. Scott comes to us after 31 years of service. He's trained literally hundreds and hundreds of career officers and reserve officers. And he's been our recruit training officer the last 3 classes. and we have another one starting real soon. As with all classes, we have a unique opportunity to have a wide variety of people. We have a nurse practitioner that just graduated, business executive, one that you know, Mayor, detention officer, budget director, and an ASU student. It's interesting, we've had ASU students in the last two classes, still going to school and going to the academy at the same time. Very, very dedicated. Their background is consistent with all the other background that we've had. We have, as reserve officers, traditional officers, engineers, business professionals. We have students, like I said, we've had physicians, we have attorneys. I always like this one, we've had firefighters, and we have executives. All of them keep their job, but want to serve the citizens of Phoenix in the police capacity, and we appreciate them. The other way to become a reserve officer is transition from career. We have the opportunity, which is somewhat unique to our program, and that is if an officer works a career but wants to stay with the department and volunteer their time as a police officer, they can transition to the reserve program. It's a great benefit for the citizens and for the city. We get to keep their expertise and their experience, and while they volunteer and become reserves on a part-time basis. The other thing that we've noticed a little bit in the last few years is that we'll have officers that go through the career program and they work 4 or 5 years, and due to their family situation or business situation, they go venture off. They transition to the reserve program, stay as reserves while they still do whatever drove them to a different direction. The nice thing is that, and we've had it happen several times, after they go do something for a year or so, they transition, a lot of them will transition back to the career full-time status, and the reserve program allows for a seamless operation. It's amazing. We have had officers donate over 25,000 hours of volunteer time. We also, through this transition program, we have officers with well over 40 years of experience. I would be remiss if I didn't let you know that in our presence today, we have the most senior police officer in the state of Arizona. His name is Henry Cousin. He's a commander with us. He's right behind us, sitting right here.
Can you please stand?
Henry, stand. Henry has 54 years of law enforcement experience with the city of Phoenix. It's amazing. And he's just one example of many that have stayed with the department for years after their retirement. Now, our reserves are assigned to every component of the department. Naturally, one area we like to see them working is patrol. And it's interesting, that's where our traditional officers like to go to, the one that have the other jobs. They want to hit the road. We have detectives. We actually have transition on traditional officers and detectives. They go to detective school on their own time, and they come back and are detectives. All the way through motor officers, Homeland Defense, actually every unit. With us, if you get the training, you get the experience, and you get the acceptance of the unit, you're allowed to transfer to that unit. It's pretty exciting. We work seamlessly with our counterparts, and this is something that personally I'm very proud of. I can tell you that as we engage in our work, we are fully engaged. I like the way the Chief Sullivan says it, is that if you call the police, you won't know if you're served by a career officer or a reserve officer. Same standards, same training, same experience, same expectations, and same uniform. It's huge dedication. And then we also supplement other daily operations. We also have our own chain of command. With me being here today, representing the chief's office, I appreciate it. I had the opportunity to go to the staff meeting today, executive staff, and I feel like my input is valued, and I think that's consistent with all of our reserve officers throughout the whole department. Last year, fiscal year, we donated over 42,000 hours of volunteerism. Now, if you put a value on that, that's estimated over $5 million. But to me, it's not just the cash value, it's the fact that we're a ready force to support people. We did 95 special events last year. A special event is where a unit within the organization calls us and says, can you help us out? The easy ones, the obvious ones, last year we did the World Series. Didn't make it that way this year, but last year was fun. We've done the WNBA, the other big events. I will tell you right now, with all with the elections coming up, Chief DePonzio's group calls us almost weekly, actually more than weekly, to help try to support some of the security needs that we have. So we look forward to all those opportunities. We are supported by the Phoenix Police Reserve Foundation, and this was created in 2007. It was created by a group of business and civic leaders, encouraged by then Mayor Phil Gordon and the City Council, and along with city management and the police management. And the mission of the foundation is to supplement the resources the city provides to us as reserves to help do our job. We get equipment, technology, and we also have the opportunity to do recruitment. You can see as our board, we have a diverse group of people throughout the business communities that support us in our Reserve Foundation. This year, in 2024, they bought us 2 full-size pickup trucks to be used by our detectives. Currently, we have 5 detectives, 2 that work in the Drug Enforcement Bureau with human trafficking, and then 3 that work in the Violent Crimes Bureau. And these are traditional reserves. They needed a vehicle, so they went out and got it for us. They also, the city provides us money for our vest. The foundation actually matches that money if we want to enhance our vest, which we appreciate. They fund uniforms for the academy recruits when they first come in. And they've actually developed a scholarship in case somebody needs help throughout the academy. The academy is very challenging for our recruits that have successfully completed it. So overall, we have a fleet of 15 fully marked police Tahoes, 2 police motorcycles, and a Camaro, a recruitment Camaro. We have radios and computers and advanced training, all supported by our reserve program. In closing, I would like to tell you that we are very appreciative of the support that we receive from within the department. I can tell you the sergeants, lieutenants that get to know our officers really appreciate us. I can tell you Chief Sullivan and the executive staff support us. We also appreciate your support. You know what, I've seen every one of you at our reserve annual banquets, at our graduations. As a volunteer, that means a lot. They know that, you know what, our efforts, and I consider volunteering as a police officer is one of the more unique opportunities that we get. And without your support and support of city management and the police department, it actually gives us an opportunity to really feel valued, and we appreciate that. We also truly appreciate the career staff that support us. With Josh, with Scott and others, we really appreciate them. Questions I can answer?
Thank you, Chief Klima. Wonderful presentation. When I tell people about the reserve, sometimes they tell me it's incredible and they can't even believe we have such a accomplished program. I know when Chief Sullivan got here, he was comparing it to other departments and he'd seen and said that really a nationwide leader in this area. One of the reasons I wanted this on the agenda today is I don't know that our community fully knows how incredible the reserve program is, and so I wanted to draw attention. We also have it on the agenda today because we just graduated a very accomplished class, and we wanted to celebrate them. Class Robert 73, service is our call, we rise above it all. And the class sent a wonderful letter to us. They could not have been more complimentary about your leadership, Chief, Sergeant Clark, Officer Waite, although I will learn there might be a nickname, Papa Waite, because you take such good care of them and help them really achieve their full potential. We are so lucky as a city that we have accomplished professionals from all walks of life who are willing to give back to us. We didn't have time today to go through all of the success stories, but saving lives and making the city a much safer place. So thank you to our reserves have stepped up. We'll go next to Councilman Waring, who has a comment.
Thank you, Mayor. So I just want to embarrass Commander Klima for a second. I said roughly the same thing when he retired. Joe Klima is one of the most excellent public servants, if not the best I've ever worked with. He was a phenomenal commander in the district I represent when I first got elected. He just did a phenomenal job. He's still extremely involved in his community, whether it's police issues or other issues. So anything that he's involved in, I have the utmost confidence it's going to go well. But I appreciate all the people who participate in the reserves. There's a fellow at my gym who's become an officer. That was his dream. For years, he would tell me this as he waited for us to hire, because there was a period where we weren't hiring officers. He just wanted to serve, and I just ran into him the other day, and he's a phenomenal example of what could come out of this program. I have a very good friend, Steve Trussell is his name, and I think he might be there today in person. He just graduated. He was in the most recent class. I went to the ceremony, the stories of all 6 graduates. I wish every citizen could see that, to see how seriously they take it, how wonderful their stories were, the pride they took in it, you know, how their families clearly felt, how supportive they were. But Steve particularly had mentioned, you know, his training officers, just what a phenomenal job they did. So I want to recognize that. I believe they're also there in the audience. But I'll tell you, you know, sometimes we are in a cynical world and a cynical business, but I think you would be remiss if you didn't recognize that the importance of this program and what it says about the people involved, what they're willing to sacrifice on their community's behalf. So I just want to say that, Mayor, and embarrass 2 people I consider good friends, and then a couple strangers who happen to work with them. But honestly, I really think overall this is a real point of pride for the city of Phoenix, and I thank you for the time.
Thank you, Councilman Waring. Well said. Councilman Robinson.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, I'm going to jump on that bandwagon a little bit because both the mayor and Councilman Waring both mentioned the importance of this program and the dedication of those who have elected to, of their own volition, elected to become involved and make a difference in our community. So we thank you for that. We are truly appreciative of your efforts. But what I think is equally as important, we recognize the folks who helped shepherd them into these careers. And Sergeant Clark, Josh, you know, Chief Klima mentioned that you've been in the Bureau working this detail for several years now and has done an exceptional job. I have had the opportunity to go to the graduations and the banquets, even though Joe doesn't really know what council district I represent. When I'm at those districts, that's okay. But you know, Josh, you've done a tremendous job in providing that level of example. And Officer Wade Scott, I'm not going to forget you by any stretch of the imagination. There are 2 people most law enforcement folks will always remember in their lives, and it's their training officer, the field, not necessarily the field training officer, but their academy training officer, their academy counselor, whatever we call them these days, and their class sergeant. And in both these cases, you guys have had such an impact on this program that it really points in the direction that we are going as a city that I think demonstrates how important we value the program. So both Scott and Josh, thank you very much. So much has already been said. I just wanted to add on a little bit. And I'll also throw Chief Klima into that mix. You know, it's volunteerism. You know, John F. Kennedy said it best. If you're gonna do something, volunteer, because if you want something done, you know, and if you know there needs to be a change, and I'm paraphrasing that portion of it, if you know there needs to be a change, jump in it. And you guys have done just that. So I thank you. I thank Scott, Josh, Joe, all of you have done a tremendous job, and congratulations to all of you who graduated from the recent Academy class. You look sharp, and the dedication and professionalism, you know, cannot be underscored. So thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. We'll go to Vice Mayor Stark and then Councilwoman Guardado, and then we'll maybe work our way to my right to left.
Thank you, Mayor. I wish I was there in person. I'm actually here with 2 of my favorite personal celebrities, my mom and dad. But I would love to be there and thank everyone in person, especially Chief Klima. I first met him when he was commander over motors, so I bet you he's excited about our next item on the agenda. But I do appreciate what the reserves do, and it's an important job. I also want to put in a plug for the actual Phoenix Police Reserve Foundation. It's incredibly important, the work they do. They really do a lot to support our Phoenix PD. And so I hope when people are thinking about giving to an organization, they might think about this important foundation. I have been to a couple of their fundraisers, and there are a lot of fun and they're also very inspirational. So thank you, all of you, for what you do. I truly appreciate it, especially when I think that we're low in numbers with our police department. You guys really come in and support them. So thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilwoman Guardado, and then Councilwoman Hodge Washington.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to take a moment to formally acknowledge the invaluable contributions of the Police Department's Reserve Division. Their dedication and support significantly enhances our mission, and I have extended my heartfelt thanks for their service to the City of Phoenix. These individuals are fully authority sworn police officers who have been certified by the Arizona Peace Officer Standards and Training Board. They have met the same rigorous hiring and training standards as our career police officers. Our city owes them our gratitude, especially considering that many of these community leaders balance full-time careers while also volunteering as part-time reserve officers with our police department. On behalf of District 5 and all of our neighborhoods, I want to express my sincere appreciation for their commitment and hard work. I would also like to express my gratitude to Assistant City Manager Lori Bass and the Police Department for their commitment to this essential program. Their efforts ensure that we maintain a high standard of service within our community. Thank you all for your continued support. Thank you so much, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilwoman Guardado. Councilwoman Hodge Washington.
Thank you, Mayor. I also wanted to echo my gratitude and thanks to the dedicated volunteers that serve in our Phoenix Police Department Reserve Division. You truly exemplify community service and sacrifice. You, as individuals, choose to put on a badge and serve alongside our full-time officers, donating thousands of hours to keep our neighborhood safe. You undergo the same rigorous training as our full-time officers and face the same risk, all while balancing your careers, families, and other commitment. You've invested at least 11 months to get this far, and I want to say thank you. Thank you for helping to enhance our coverage amongst our police department. Thank you for helping to save the taxpayers a little money in the meantime. But thank you for bringing your valuable skills and perspective from your civilian careers to this role. You've brought professionalism, courage, and commitment that strengthens the bond between our law enforcement and our community. You help represent some of the best of Phoenix citizens who step forward to serve and protect our neighborhoods. I want to say to every member of the Reserve Division, your selfless service helps to make Phoenix a safer and better place to live. Thank you for choosing to serve. Thank you for the sacrifices that you and your families have made, and thank you for being such outstanding examples of civic engagement and public service. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilwoman O'Brien, did you want to speak on this one?
Thank you, Mayor. So I want to say thank you first to our Phoenix Police Reserve Foundation Board of Directors and their president, Derek Hall. It is important to have that support, and they are also volunteers, so I thank them for helping to support not only the reserves, but our police department in general. I was told a story about one of our current reserve officers who attended an event and was talking to someone else about how short we were on officers. And during that conversation with one of the board of directors, they said, well, what are you going to do about it? And that is when he decided to join the reserves. And so I really want to thank Steve Trussell for putting his money where his mouth is and stepping up to help solve the problem, because as many folks know, we are down about 600 officers. And so without our Phoenix Police Reserves, I can't imagine how we would handle all the special events that we get to do in Phoenix. And when I say that, I don't just mean the great big special events that everybody knows about, like Super Bowl, Final Four. I mean the runs we get to do that our neighborhood runs at the local high school and our other events. So thank you all. You contribute so much to our community, and not just by keeping us safe, but by allowing us to continue to build our communities with activities and togetherness. So you are such an invaluable resource to our city, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate you all, and I'm proud to have you a part of Phoenix. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilwoman O'Brien. Councilwoman Pastor.
I just want to say thank you. We need you, and you're a fabric of our community, and you're embedded in our community, and you are able to also come from diverse backgrounds to be able to look at things in a very different lens and be able to say, maybe we should adjust here, or maybe we should look at this, or possibly giving us advice on policy and how it looks. So my gratitude to you, but most importantly, my gratitude is to your family, because you're dedicating your time and energy where you could be with your family. But I do want to say you are with your family because you're with the community and giving back good. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Galindo Elvira.
This is an exemplary program, and thank you so much for the work you do within our community. I'm especially astounded by the volunteerism, 42,316 hours. That's valued at $5.3 million. That's incredible. So thank you for all the work you do, and I think you've heard unanimous applause for the work you're doing and for the great representation of the city of Phoenix.
Thank you, Councilman. We do have one member of the public to comment in lower council chambers. Eric, the floor is yours.
Hi, my name is Eric. City of Phoenix with the good timing again. Boom. I've been homeless and hungry, and it's my fourth time being homeless. I'm getting to the agenda item. It's my fourth time being homeless. So at this point, I mastered it. There's a reason why it doesn't look like I'm homeless. I'm like the tightest homeless dude. It's because it's like I've done that already. I got it, but it doesn't make it any less stressful or hard on me. And lately, I've been looking at maybe a new career, like actual career, something I could do. And I definitely think that I have a mind for politics, law, and law enforcement. But I was thinking maybe try my head at law enforcement before I get too old to really, learn how to do it. But the reason I bring this up is because I was really thinking maybe somewhere in the FBI would probably be cool, or Homeland Security. But the most interaction I've had with law enforcement in my life has always been the Phoenix Police Department. So I've been going to the gift shop for years, and they said they always have new swag like this, that they have dad jokes on stuff. You love it, and then you can play little cop cars But long story short, I was wondering, I was like, if you walk around and people think you're a cop, because like I spent a lot of time in really bad neighborhoods. Like if people think you're a cop, that's a mortal threat to you. So, but I'm like in normal society on the light rail in North Phoenix and the District 2 and District 3, yada yada. If people think you're a cop, like how do the other people receive you, right? Like maybe not in the government housing where there's gunshots every day, but Desert Ridge, like whoa, people still hate on you, and some people do. Like people have their own opinions and whatnot. But I definitely want to check this program out. But I'll get to the point and I'll close. One thing I noticed is they have this lanyard that's at Phoenix Police Department. It's the same one the cops wear. It's called $5. So I put it on. I started walking around with it, and I noticed two things off the bat. Some people start moving away from you, and those are the people you don't want by you anyway. And the second thing I noticed is anyone with a job or self-respect just thanks you everywhere you go. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This was a great presentation about a really important program. We hope it helps attract new interest to the reserves and is a big thank you to those who have stepped up to serve our community. And another thank you to our senior law enforcement officer. Thank you, Commander. Incredible commitment to the city of Phoenix, and it's a real honor that you have chosen us for that 57 years of service. Thank you. Do we have any final comments?
Well, thank you for the opportunity to be here, Mayor, Council. You know, the interesting thing is we have gotten referrals from people that you've talked to, and we appreciate that. Right now we have a couple, and we have one in the pipe, and we appreciate that. So keep letting people know about the program. It's a great way to serve. So thank you. Thank you. We really appreciate the presentation, but more importantly, the service to the community.
Next, we will transition to item number 2, and I will turn to our vice mayor who leads our transportation committee and is an incredible leader on this topic to introduce the item.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate that. So several years ago, it's quite unfortunate, but Phoenix started seeing an uptick in pedestrian and red light fatalities. Certainly that's something we don't want to brag about. It's very tragic. And because of that, as a council, we started talking about roadway safety. And there are many ways to approach roadway safety. Obviously, engineering, education, but also enforcement. And so today we're going to talk a little bit about that. Through the roadway safety, we adopted Vision Zero, which gives us the opportunity to pursue grants through the infrastructure bill that was passed a few years ago. And hopefully we can find some funding to help us with engineering. But unfortunately, we're just not successful when it comes to enforcement. Part of the problem, I believe, is the reduction in our police force. We used to have a very robust motors division. We had over 150 motors. Now we're down to probably about 40. And as the city has grown, we've seen a reduction in the enforcement on our roads. And I know that it gets worse and worse every day because the number one complaint in my district is speeding. I can't think of a neighborhood group that I go to where they don't talk about speeding and what are we doing to enforce it. And I don't know about the rest of you, but when I come to an intersection, if I'm the first one at the intersection and the light changes, I hesitate. I think everybody hesitates because we have seen so much red light running and so many fatalities. We have certainly have to do something. And so in the Transportation Infrastructure and Planning Subcommittee, we have been talking about automated enforcement. I know it's a very dicey issue, but I've also found as I go to my neighborhood meetings, more and more of my residents are saying it's time that we take a look at it, especially when our surrounding cities now have those tools in place. And so today I think we're going to have a very robust discussion about automated enforcement. I'm certainly supportive of it, and I hope the council is too. It is a tough issue to talk about, but we have to do something. I, for one, am tired of hearing about fatalities that could have been prevented if we slowed down or if we didn't run a red light. So thank you, Mayor, for letting me introduce this important topic.
Thank you for your leadership. We will now turn it over to our Deputy City Manager, Inger Erickson.
Good afternoon, Mayor and members of the council. Today we are presenting information on an automated enforcement safety program for your consideration and your direction. Presenters today include Interim Street Transportation Director Brandy Kelso, Assistant Director Brianna Velez, and Sergeant Justin Wood from the Phoenix Police Department. The main goal of an effective automated enforcement safety program, I think we've gone the right way, yes, is to provide safer streets for our community. Automated enforcement is an additional tool to complement other Vision Zero strategies such as yellow light timing, access management, pedestrian-related infrastructure improvements, and educational campaigns. The focus of this type of program is to change behavior of the driver and to deliver safer streets through voluntary compliance of traffic laws, leading to reducing speeding infractions, reducing red light running, and reduced number of collisions and their severity. This is not a revenue generator, but a tool to aid in providing our community with safer streets. Street Transportation Director Brandy Kelso will discuss the city's history with automated enforcement safety programs, and the other presenters will discuss options to gain the direction of the City Council.
Thank you, Inger. Mayor and Council, the city's previous automated enforcement safety program started back in 2001. The intent of the program was to deter red light violations, reduce speeding violations, and reduce crash frequency and severity. The program originally consisted of 10 intersections equipped with red light running cameras. Over the 18-year program, the red light cameras were moved to various locations and ultimately expanded to 12 intersections being monitored. Initially, the program also included 2 mobile speed vehicles that were used exclusively in school zones. Over time, the number of speed vehicles expanded from 2 to 8. The program was provided by 3 vendors during this time frame. The revenue collected from the citations was sufficient to cover the costs of the vendor and city staff costs. Over the last 5 years of the program, the average net annual revenue was approximately $28,000. The program was not intended to generate revenue, but was to focus on improving roadway safety. Nationally in 2022, on average, more than 2 people per day died in red light running crashes. According to the Insurance Institute of Highway Safety, a total of 1,149 fatalities happened in crashes that involved red light running. Half of those were killed were pedestrians, bicyclists, and people in other vehicles who were hit by red light runners. An additional 107,000 injuries were also reported. In Phoenix in 2023, we saw 20 people killed in red light running crashes and an additional 810 injuries. I will now hand the presentation over to Assistant Director Brianna to discuss the components of an automated enforcement safety program.
Thank you, Brandy. Good afternoon, Mayor and members of the Council. When developing an automated enforcement safety program, the most common devices used are high-resolution digital cameras which capture driving infractions for red light running and speeding. The red light running cameras are fixed at signalized intersections as shown in the top left picture and are activated when a vehicle is detected entering the intersection after the traffic signal has turned red. The portable speed vehicles shown in the top right picture and the portable speed tower shown in the bottom right picture are devices that can be transported and placed adjacent to the roadway to monitor speed. The cameras are activated when a vehicle exceeds a set threshold speed as it passes by either the vehicle or the tower. The speed on green is an additional feature of the fixed red light running camera that is activated when a vehicle exceeds the set threshold speed as it passes through the intersection on a green or yellow light. The fixed mid-block speed cameras are devices permanently mounted mid-block along a roadway segment, as shown in the bottom left picture, which detects a vehicle exceeding a set threshold speed. All of these devices capture multiple images to clearly identify the driver and vehicle's license plate. Based on our research, there is no national standard or consistent methodology that cities use for selecting automated enforcement locations. The Speed Enforcement Camera Systems Operational Guidelines developed by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration describes crash data as a primary factor that should be considered for location selection. Using a data-based approach, the criteria for site selection for red light running cameras would be to use the most recent 3 years of crash data and isolate red light crashes to identify the intersections with the highest number of crashes. In addition, red light crashes with serious and fatal injuries, as well as pedestrian crashes at signalized intersections where fatal injuries, as well as pedestrian crashes at signalized intersections where the driver was at fault would be criteria to factor in site selection. The criteria for site selection for the portable speed towers and vehicles would be again to use the most recent 3 years of crash data and isolate segments of roadways that have a high number of speeding-related crashes. In addition, high speeding areas identified by the Police Traffic Bureau, as well as school zones, could be criteria for site selection as well. Staff would also evaluate each potential location to determine if other factors such as available right-of-way, utility conflicts, current and upcoming construction projects, and jurisdictional considerations might make installation of a fixed or portable camera at a specific location not feasible. Speeding and red light running causes thousands of unnecessary deaths each year in the U.S., and the use of technology as a tool that can automate enforcement has been deployed in other cities throughout the country, including here in the Valley. The cities of Chandler, Mesa, Scottsdale, and Paradise Valley all have active automated enforcement safety programs that include red light running cameras and the speed on green feature at specific signalized intersections. Mesa, Scottsdale, and Paradise Valley have also implemented some form of speed enforcement cameras as well. Just recently, the city of Avondale also implemented a speed safety camera program. Many large cities such as New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, and Philadelphia have implemented automated enforcement safety programs, which are all aimed at reducing the number and severity of crashes and modifying driver behavior. I will now turn the presentation back to Brandy to cover the program recommendations.
Thank you, Brianna. Based on the city's historical program and review of the technologies available, we have several recommendations for the council's consideration for developing a potential automated enforcement safety program. We recommend developing an RFP, or request for proposal, that would be issued in spring of 2025. The RFP would include red light running cameras, mobile speed vehicles, and portable speed towers. Additional services such as speed on green and fixed med block cameras would be included in the contract for future consideration. The goal of the program will be to increase roadway safety while remaining cost neutral. Any net revenues would be invested into the city's traffic safety program. The RFP would include 10 fixed red light running cameras with the ability to increase this number over time. Implementation of the red light running cameras would be based on current data that shows intersections with the highest number of crashes, focusing on those with serious and fatalities, and intersections with crashes involving pedestrians where the driver was found to be at fault. Streets would ensure that all 10 camera locations would have implemented the extended yellow light timing. In addition to the red light running cameras, we recommend the implementation of 3 mobile vehicle and 3 portable tower speed enforcement cameras. The locations of these devices would include reviewing crash data for corridors that have high instances of speeding, known high-speed areas identified by Phoenix Police Traffic Bureau, and within school zones. Given the portability of these devices, they can be rotated regularly to various areas throughout the city to cover a variety of needs. In addition, we recommend a minimum 30-day warning period where warning notices would be sent in lieu of citations. A warning period would be at the onset of the program for both red light running and speed enforcement cameras, and when new red light running camera locations are added or they are changed. Based on data from the previous program, the city would have to cover the costs of the warning period, which is estimated to be $10,000 per 30-day period per camera location. The street transportation and police departments would also implement a public information campaign to inform the public about the program, which could include things such as a website, social media posts, and public service announcements. The campaign will focus on educating the public about roadway safety in an effort to change driver behavior, and therefore meet the program goals to reduce speeding, reduce red light running, and reduce the number of collisions and their severity. Finally, streets and police would develop an annual report to review the program performance, including the effectiveness of the camera at the locations, review of the most recent crash data, and propose or change red light camera locations. The report would also highlight any recommendations for increased portable speed cameras or the use of other technologies such as speed on green or fixed mid-block cameras. The report would be provided to the council for review and approval. We anticipate that the potential automated enforcement safety program could be operational by fall of 2025. We are happy to answer any questions you have and discuss program recommendations and implementation.
Thank you. Why don't we do clarifying questions now, take public comment, and then I'll turn to the Vice Mayor for a motion. Anyone have clarifying questions? All right, then we'll. All right, Councilwoman Pastor. And then, I didn't see who went first, so we'll go with Councilwoman.
Go ahead. Go down this way.
All right, I will start. I just wanted to clarify, with respect to the recommendation for the speed-in enforcement, with it being 3 mobile vehicle units and proposed 3 mobile towers, what criteria would be used to determine where those would go, given school zones and other sensitive areas? How would we determine where those 6 available units would go? I know the 10 intersections are going to be based on crash data. Is there a specific criteria that's going to be used to determine where the speed enforcement units go?
Mayor and Council, yes, there's a couple of criteria we would use. One, crashes, locations that have a high number of crashes related to speed. Areas in which the Traffic Bureau has identified large speed corridors. For example, one of the areas that was told to me was 7th Street from the 101 down to about Dunlap, I think. And so there's some known high-speed corridors within the city where we could use them, and then, of course, school zones.
Okay. And then how do we balance, or what is the anticipated next steps to ensure that we're not just diverting this high-speed activity from one roadway to another? For example, we're not reducing the speed on baseline and then increasing the speed on adjacent roads such as Southern or Dobbins.
Mayor and Council, that's a great question. So we know, based on some of the research that we've done, is because we have the ability to move these devices around fairly frequently, that allows us to keep them moving and keeping drivers a little bit anticipating where they might be, and therefore they're going to change their behavior knowing that they are moving around and they're not exactly sure where they're going to be at any given time.
And are you talking specifically about what I'll call the speed enforcement, the mobile units? Because I presume the fixed ones at the intersection we can't necessarily move as readily.
Yes, Mayor and Council, that is correct. We expect that the portable ones we can move around at maybe even as close as every 4 to 6 weeks. The fixed light cameras, we anticipate moving them around in maybe the 3 to 5 year, depending on what the data shows.
Okay. And great segue for me, because my next question was going to go on to the red light run-in, the intersection-based cameras, 10 of those. It says data-driven selection based on crash data. I know the last time this was before us, we were looking at the high injury network data, and I think that went through 2019. Do we have more current data to rely on, or are we using that same data?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I think Brianna can give the most recent information we have on that.
Mayor and Councilwoman Keisha Hodge Washington and members of the council, we have updated our high injury network recently. Our goal is to update the high injury network every other year. We should be adding in the new data. The high injury network is focused on crashes where we have serious injuries and fatalities, where the focus on this would be extracting specifically the crashes that are associated with red light running.
Okay. And you say the data has been updated. Has it been updated through 2023?
2022.
2022. Thank you so much. And I think my last question is, have we identified what would be potential metrics of success? Like at what point do we say that the investment in these red light cameras have been useful and they have served their goal? Or do we have any metrics we'll be looking at for the success of this program?
Mayor and Council, some of the initial things that we've been looking at is obviously looking at the decrease of severity. based on some information from the University of Arizona. They did a study for us, and it showed that the previous program did decrease the severity. So that's definitely one of the issues with that or the metrics we would use. And then obviously working with the council through our annual report, we could identify other metrics that we want to use.
Thank you so much for the answers. That is all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilwoman Pastor.
Thank you. I just want to go back in time because I entered 2014, got here, and this subject came about. And it was about, the messaging is still the same about wanting to keep our streets safe, wanting to make sure that we changed behavior, and a number of things, the same conversation we're having. And the red light cameras were from 2014 to 2019. What we did see was the mobile units within the school zones, that it did decrease the speed within the school zones. I want to know how many of those units we had then.
Mayor and council, at the end of the program, we had a total of 8 units.
Okay. And right here, I think if I read this correctly, it's only going to be 3.
Mayor and council, yes, we're looking at 3 of the vehicles and then 3 of the portable towers. The benefit of adding the towers is we found in the last program that some of the school zones were not placed in the roadway in a way in which the vehicle could fit, where these speed towers are a little bit smaller and a little bit more accessible in all places.
Okay, so how do we get to 8? Because when we left the program, it was 8, and we're coming back with the program to 6. So I would like to see to get to 8.
Mayor, members of council, I think that's why we're here today. If that's the direction we get, then obviously we could consider more. We just had a proposal to begin the talking.
Okay, got it. So in that, I'm assuming this is discussion only?
I think it is listed for potential action, so I would expect a motion.
Okay.
And I think we can try to note the 8 in the motion.
Okay, thank you, or increase within the school zone. Then I also am going to go back to that time of the fact that during that time period, what we discovered in 2019, when that whole dialogue started between 2014 and 2019, we really didn't look at, we did and we didn't. It was a hodgepodge of data of how we determine where to put these vehicles and I don't know, red light cameras. And in that time, during that time, when we were looking at the renewal, that became a topic of conversation on how that piece where we really didn't take the time, started to look at the data. We questioned the fact that the data was archaic at what we were looking at, and it wasn't current data. So I'm glad to hear that it's been modernized and that we were able to do it, because at the time they told us we couldn't. And one of the pieces is I do want to make sure that we are using the data correctly. Because what we discovered is that they were in areas that they really shouldn't have been. And it became more, for some of us on the council, of a profiling. And we had that conversation. The other piece of it was the facial recognition. So I would like to know how these cameras are going to be used. Are they using facial recognition? What are they doing?
Mayor and council, our understanding is that no, they don't use facial recognition. We're not using video. They are still pictures that are provided they only trigger once the car has moved through the intersection and ran the red, or in the case of speed is over a certain speed limit. And then they capture that image that's compared to the vehicle owner's driver's license, and therefore then starts down the road of issuing a citation.
Okay,
Mayor Gallego, members of the council, and Councilwoman Pastor. The way that the citations worked previously was that a traffic violation notice was received from the vendor to the traffic bureau. That traffic violation notice was reviewed by an officer and verified to be either the registered owner or an identified driver by the registered owner. Portion of video from the incident was saved for court purposes, and once that violation proceeded to court, the defendant or identified driver was given the opportunity to review that video to make the determination as to whether or not they wanted to attend a traffic school or simply proceed to a hearing or pay a fine in regards to that violation. Once the case was concluded, nothing was retained and there was no facial recognition utilized. It was all done by comparing MVD records by a law enforcement officer.
Okay, thank you. And then my last question is about the fixed lights. There was one on 15th Avenue in Missouri, and everybody knew that there was a camera there on 15th Avenue, Missouri. I'm not sure if it changed behavior or they just kind of changed, they just knew either to go through or go around. But the fixed lights, once basically we know where the cameras are, and I would say even Paradise Valley, I'll use Paradise Valley, as I drive from Phoenix through Paradise Valley to get to Scottsdale sometimes, I know where they are. So it does change that behavior at that current moment, but it doesn't change the pattern of behavior of once I'm past that camera, I can speed up. And so I think it's a great tool to have, but at the end of the day, I think it's enforcement that really is what changes people's behavior. So I'm hoping that we hire more police officers and get our crew, troops, I don't know what to call it, force to the level that we need to in order to have that enforcement. So thank you.
Thank you. I was going to go to Councilwoman O'Brien, then Councilman Galindo Elvira, but first want to recognize I've been working with Brandy for many, many years, but what people may not know, she was in the water department a few weeks ago and has stepped up to lead our city. And I don't think I could tell if I didn't already know you'd been in the water department from how you're answering these questions. So thank you for stepping up for us to have a safer city in this really important role. And thank you to the great team that is helping Brandy succeed in this. Councilwoman O'Brien.
Thank you, Mayor, and you're absolutely right. Kudos, Brandy, for making that very eloquent switch from water to streets and helping us to keep moving on. I am super excited about this, but I do have a couple of questions. How is our list of intersections different than MAG's list of dangerous intersections?
Mayor and members of council, Councilwoman O'Brien. So MAG's top 100 intersections that they look at takes into consideration a variety of data that may not be exactly everything that we look at. I don't have all of the factors that they take into consideration, but we would definitely be able to provide you some of that detail that we could gather from MAG in terms of everything that they take into consideration when they are putting together their MAG top 100 list.
Okay, I appreciate that, because when I look at MAG's list of their top 10, none of the intersections are in District 1. So I would propose that we need to use data. It needs to be the foundation for how we determine anything, including whether or not we're successful. I would also propose, kind of like we did with park security, that there be at least one in each district, so that when there is a clamoring from, I think, most districts' constituents. I know this is something I hear about all of the time. And then I would like to also piggyback onto Councilwoman Hodge Washington's questions about metrics of success, so that we are evaluating this at least twice a year to look at what that data says. I also support Councilwoman Pastor's 8 mobile units. And then I noticed that the recommendation that you have provided us with says to issue the RFP by the end of first quarter in 2025. Is there any way that that could be issued sooner?
Mayor and Council, there's a couple options. We could absolutely work on getting that out sooner. The other thing we could look at is whether other cities have the cooperative agreement in their programs, and then use that if we're satisfied with the vendor that they have, and use that to get something out a little bit quicker.
Thank you for that. If we use another city's, if we have cooperative agreements and could use theirs, does that cost us more money than going out to bid for our own? Do we know?
Mayor, members of council, it really depends. I mean, it could cost us more. It depends on how widely they look out and what their actual scope is and if our scope differs. So we would have to review that cooperative agreement and what that contract was in detail to see if it's something that we could accept legally and would want to accept.
Okay. I guess barring that, if there's another cooperative agreement, I would appreciate if that seems feasible, that we would look at that. If not, I would ask that our RFP be moved up. And I guess if moving that up, I would want to know, does that adversely impact something else? Because I've sat on the other side of the table before where people are telling me to do different things. And so I understand there's a list of priorities. So if you bump that up, are there other things that get bumped down? And what are those things? Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman.
Yes, first I want to thank Vice Mayor Deborah Stark for leading on this issue. I know street safety is one of her top priorities, and thank you all to the staff for your presentation. I greatly value your work, and thank you for the dedication you show to the citizens of the city of Phoenix. I noticed that it said annual report for council approval, and Councilwoman O'Brien touched on this, but is it possible to get a semi-annual report to the Transportation Infrastructure and Planning Subcommittee for review, and then also to the council?
Mayor and Council, of course, we're willing to provide the data in whatever increment you want. However, I will caution you that the data that we provide data to ADOT, and they verify the data and they get it back to us. And there's about a 12 to 18 month lag in that. So there might be some times when we're providing data, but it hasn't been fully verified through what we would call normal channels.
As long as the notation is made there so that it's not marked as that's what's happening, it's just information for the subcommittee and as well for the council.
Wonderful, thank you. Councilwoman Hodge Washington.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to add for consideration, and when we determine in the reporting and the metrics that come back to determine the success of this, is that we look at a radius around the intersections to take into account other intersections to see if we're seeing an increase at the intersections, whether or not to the north, to the south, east, or west, to see whether or not the behavior is actually being modified long-term, or if the behavior is being modified just for the presence of that intersection. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional council comments?
Mayor.
Vice Mayor, please.
Thank you. I appreciate all the suggestions. I too would like to see it expedited. I know there's a lot of work to be done, but if we can look at that, I like the idea of increasing the number to 8. I will say, and I appreciate Councilwoman Pastor's comments, that some of the locations, I'm not sure how they were picked back in the day, but I know there was one at 7th Street and Bell, and that one was well served. That obviously Bell Road is a road of regional significance, and so it serves so many other cities besides Phoenix, but some of them were, I think, somewhat questionable, and so hopefully we will be driven by data. One thing about Paradise Valley, and I do agree with the councilwoman that we all know where the red light cameras are, but they now have the speed cabinets, the mobile cabinets, and so even if you go past a red light camera, there just might be a cabinet awaiting you. So I think that the addition of having the ability to move the speed cameras around the city should help that a little bit. Obviously, we're a much bigger city than Paradise Valley, and that's why I appreciate the councilwoman suggesting more than the 3+3. So I really thank you for that suggestion, Councilwoman Pastor. Mayor, I'm excited that the council seems to be supportive of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman, for your longtime leadership on it. And it's important to put this in context. This is one of many things we are doing around safety in our community. This is on top of huge changes in infrastructure, including a record-setting project we just were awarded today, or this week. We got a $146 million grant from our federal government to address one of the areas of biggest challenges in our city, a corridor where Indian School and rail intersects. That is an area where we have had huge challenges with fatalities. How incredible is that? That is a record for us of this type of safety project, but it is not the only one we are doing. We have had 60 different projects since we passed the Vision Zero Roadway Safety Action Plan unanimously in 2022. So we are also making major changes in how we design our roads, how we design corridors. Several of the councilwomen have been leaders in making sure we have safer canal paths, so you're not even up against a road, and that can be used for bicyclists, for pedestrians, safe routes to school. This is just one of many things we are doing to try to address safety, and I think that is really important context. One of the heartbreaking things we have to do in this job is we meet with families who have lost loved ones in their roadway accidents, and we try to learn from all of those and do better. It's the reason the policy is called Vision Zero, is our goal is to not lose any of our residents. So really important to note, this is one of many tools that we have, and it's part of a much bigger plan. We have 2 different citizen boards that help advise us on different components of this, and it is also a big priority for council members. So with that, we will take public comment, and then I'll turn to the Vice Mayor for a motion. We will begin with Ann Ender, and then followed by Diana Bentley.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor Gallego, Vice Mayor Stark, and council members. Thanks for the opportunity to speak to you and share my thoughts about this red light cameras, or the automated safety enforcement plan. The Vice Mayor kind of covered everything I was going to say. So, and she did it so eloquently. So what I will just add to that is one of the things is that the behaviors that's mentioned in this is distracted drivers. And I have been a victim of a distracted driver. 2019, a woman that was distracted went through the intersection at 45 miles per hour and hit me, T-boned my car. And I'm very fortunate that I have survived, but it was just, so I understand that. And it was only probably a half a mile from my home. So with that said, I think it's really important to know these things. And one of the things when we talk about red light runners, I think about that tragic accident that killed Officer Gennaro New. But Lieutenant Woods was just interviewed in an article, the Arizona Family, and I really appreciated your comments. But what really stood out to me is that when you started in 2007, that we had 147 motor officers, and today we have 30. And the Vice Mayor and I are very enthusiastic when we see a motor. We usually text each other and say, I just saw one. But thank you very much for your comments. And I just think this is really important that we provide the police department with as much technology to help them, to assist them in addressing our public safety. So I ask that you please approve this. Thank you.
Thank you. Diana is next, followed by John.
Thank you, Council, and Mayor Gallego. And Vice Mayor Stark, I live in your community. I live off of Greenway Parkway, just east of 7th Avenue. And we have so many speeders. It's like a speedway, not a parkway up there. We have accidents all the time at that intersection. When I travel around in my area, I am some days counting the red light runners and how many people will run the red light after I'm comfortably stopped. And I don't know what the answer is, but I think hitting their pocketbook certainly never hurts. And I appreciate the fact that it appears that we're getting some support for resurrecting this program again. I don't speed in Paradise Valley because I know where the lights are. Tatum is, always got their permanent signs out, and I would encourage the council to support this. I know it's an expensive project, but there is no dollar amount we can put on the lives of our citizens. We have a school, a junior high, right at the corner of 7th Avenue and Greenway. So we have children there all the time, and the speeding there they're not going 50 or 55. They're doing 60, 65. And it's just crazy, and I'm delighted to see that we are getting some movement in this direction, and I fully support the council and the committee doing all the hard work. And I appreciate your time.
Thank you. John is next, followed by Eric.
My name is John McMullen. I am opposed to the implementation of a red light camera program. I have spoken on this before at the Transportation Subcommittee with Vice Mayor Stark, Mayor, and members of the council. We already have the means slowing people down, and the two alternatives that I spoke about at Transportation Subcommittee meeting was the use of traffic mitigation things like speed bumps. If you put a speed bump in any of these areas that were referred to in terms of, for instance, school zones, they're not going to speed through a school zone if there's a speed bump. That's certainly going to mitigate the speed. So those kinds of mechanisms are already available to the city and can be used in virtually any intersection where there is a high risk of a crash or speed light, red light runners. So the other alternative is that you put in traffic circles. And traffic circles have been used in our communities. We certainly have many of them in the city of Phoenix. And around the country, there's hundreds, if not thousands of them. And the simple implementation of a device like that will slow people down, and it will eliminate red light runners because you don't have red lights. So traffic circles are inherently more safe than what we see now. So finally, I think you should take one intersection and put in a traffic circle, one high-risk intersection. Take another high-risk intersection and put in speed mitigation mechanisms like speed bumps, and then see what happens before you implement a draconian system like this red light system. Thank you.
Thank you for that comment. We do have a traffic circle in District 7 that is probably the single intersection I hear the most about, and has not been, I would say, not beloved by. Okay, let's see. I said Eric is next, Eric Nielsen, and then we will go online to Nicole.
Hello, my name's Eric, and I have a lot of ideas about traffic and lights and all that, and I turn most of them in. But I'm trying to stay on task in this meeting because I think that's what's most useful to you guys. So I want to start with speeding, and I'm sorry, I would like to start with the red lights and go to speeding. One thing you notice when you drive down Broadway Road in Mesa, or is it Southern? I don't remember. Long story short, you go and like every few intersections, you see a school, a high school, a middle school. And you go, dang, how many schools do they have in Mesa? Are there kids everywhere? I'm not sure how Mesa was built. Like I know a lot about Phoenix and Arizona history, not so much about Mesa other than Mormons. But what I do notice is I don't know why they put all the schools on the same road. I'm not sure why they decided to do that in the first place. But that is the corridor where there is a speed camera at every single light. And the message is simple. The message is you be careful in this area. And it's very important that people get that message because speeding, like red light running is the type of thing that doesn't discriminate when it comes to the victim profile. Like anyone's gonna get hit. So that it's just a horrible thing to do. And then I would also like to point out that the other thing about red light cameras is you want to talk about a dangerous intersection. There's a dangerous intersection in Jim Waring's district. It's Tatum and Thunderbird. And let me tell you all you need to know about why you should support red light cameras. So there were for years. Like, when I went away to California in 2009, there was no speed camera. When I got back, there was a red light camera at Tatum and Thunderbird. Okay, and then years later, whatever happened, they took it down. And I told my mom, I said, watch. And guess what happened? Within weeks, there were crazy accidents there again. But I'll tell you what, it only took less than 2 years for there to be a serious tragedy on that corner. And I have a Citizens app that's on my mom's address because I know what happens in my neighborhood. But just look up the accident with the woman getting crushed by the rollover vehicle, shielding her infant. Like it's all you should need to know. Bring that camera back.
Thank you. Nicole is next, followed by Sherry.
Thank you, Mayor. This is Nicole Rodriguez. I'm speaking to you as a victim of traffic violence, having been hit as a pedestrian, as a cyclist, and as a driver, as well as my family. So please take a thoughtful and well-vetted approach in determining if and where automated enforcement is necessary. Based on staff's presentation and our high injury network, cameras would primarily be installed in West Phoenix, west of the I-17. Often automated enforcement is implemented as a regressive tax, and low-income households are disproportionately impacted and often end up incurring additional fees, unlike predominantly affluent households. Public feedback period is necessary, like with all of our Safe Street implementation. Automated enforcement is in the business of making a profit, and it's a very lucrative one. We see city, county, and state pensions investing in automated enforcement companies. To keep the business lucrative, automated enforcement encourages and lobbies to keep our status quo of highway-style streets. It is designed to penalize drivers for poor streets designed instead of mitigating the cause of unsafe street design. And if it is truly to make our streets safer, then implement complete street traffic calming proven countermeasures along with automated enforcement. Even flashing signs that show drivers how fast they are going are known to help reduce speeds. When the focus is on using financial penalties as the means of traffic safety, inequities always arise, and there is no incentive to actually improve the safety of our streets with traffic calming measures. We shouldn't have to wait for drivers to rack up tickets to physically harm people for our city leaders to build safe streets. Thank you.
Thank you. Sherry will be our final comment.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Sherry Robinson, and I reside in North Phoenix. This past August 2nd, I had a high-speed hit-and-run red light runner heading south collide with my vehicle when I was making a legal left turn onto North 19th Avenue from Sunnyside. I learned later that from my incident report, that the driver had fled on foot across the intersection, abandoning his vehicle. The impact caused me to lose consciousness, and thus I have only vague memories of collision events. I was taken to Deer Valley Hospital ER and then admitted with non-life-threatening injuries. I had a traumatic brain injury, multiple soft tissue injuries, and back pain. I cope with these injuries and multiple other issues every day. Cameras are present in all directions at this intersection, yet did not record this crash according to the detective assigned to this criminal case. Assistance to me from the Phoenix Police Department has been excellent, but obviously the police are handicapped by the lack of any surveillance equipment. Certainly in this crash, a picture would have been worth 1,000 words. In closing, I strongly recommend that the council adopt this automated system and I lost my notes here. Okay. The absence of doing this would be a major disservice to Phoenix residents and our dedicated police officers working to improve safety to law-abiding citizens of Phoenix. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you so much for that important testimony. Thank you to everyone who testified, including people who shared very difficult personal stories. I understand there are people watching this meeting who have lost loved ones in the city of Phoenix. We hope we are doing what we need to save lives here, and we are just so thankful that you're willing to engage with the city and believe we can do better. That is why we are here today. Vice Mayor.
Oops, sorry, I forgot to unmute there. I apologize. Yes, I would like to make a motion. I would like to issue a request for proposals no later than spring of 2025, but hopefully we can get it done sooner, perhaps in late fall, early winter. Program to be cost neutral, any revenues to be invested in traffic safety programs. As far as the red light running, 10 fixed intersection cameras, which data-driven collection will be based. Also for speeding enforcement, I would recommend 4 mobile vehicle units and 4 mobile towers to be used mid-block or school zone placement. Also, we should include a 30-day warning period. Warning would be in lieu for the first 30 days for red light cameras and portable camera units. Public information is also important, so I would recommend that we mount a campaign to notify the public, including website, press releases, media coverage, social media, and that we have a semi-annual report for council approval. Thank you, Mayor.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We'll turn to Councilwoman Hodge Washington.
Thank you, Mayor. I had a question that was in light of some of the testimony that we've heard from the public. Specifically, I wanted to see if we had given any thoughts to additional or supplemental means of making our streets safer, such as the flashing lights, flashing signs that tell how quickly or how the speed a vehicle is traveling.
Mayor, I think that, as part of the cost neutral revenue, that the money would be investing in those types of programs, I would hope. That was my understanding of how we would use the revenues. Maybe we should turn to staff and see if that's correct.
Mayor, members of council, Councilwoman Hodge Washington, currently, right now, we do have a program for the speed feedback signs is what they were referring to. We currently install them. We have a budget of 8 per year, so 1 per council district, and we usually install those on arterials adjacent to where schools are. I think the Vice Mayor brings up a really great point that any revenue generated out of this could allow the Street Transportation Department to consider expansion of that program, where maybe we would look beyond the school speed feedback signs and possibly adding in some of these signs on arterials where we have high incidence of speeding.
Thank you for the clarification. And one more follow-up that I did have is, it as noted, many of the high injury network or those intersections with high crashes or high red light run-in are in, I would say, some disadvantaged communities. And we talked some about the grace period that possibly could be granted to those. I would actually like us to consider, in addition to a 30-day grace period, maybe for the first year of operation, maybe if the first red light run-in is not result in a crash or it's less than a predetermined miles per hour, such as less than 10 miles per hour over the speed limit, that they get a one-time waiver. Just because we don't want it, we want to change behavior without being financially punitive. And it takes some time to change behavior, and I don't think 30 days sometimes can be sufficient. I'm not sure if that's feasible, but I would like us to consider that as well.
And Mayor, I don't have a problem with that. I'm not sure, and maybe we need to turn to our city attorney to make sure we can do that. I know some of the costs are really established by the legislature. Obviously, the courts have, I think, the ability to waive that, though.
Yes, so Mayor and Council, we would definitely need to look at that and need to look at the rules of the court, which do set where those fines sometimes go, and some of those charges, as you know, are set with the court to go back to the courts and be used specifically.
But how are we, if I may, if we're going to be waiving the first 30 days, that gives me the impression that we have some discretion to make a waiver in certain circumstances. So I was asking for that discretion to be exercised a little more liberally than we had anticipated as proposed by the staff recommendation.
So Mayor and Council, the initial waiver, is my understanding, is that just won't go into effect. But then once somebody has received a citation, you know, through this system, I believe they'd have to do some kind of file something with the court to request a waiver, and that's up to the court system, not for the city. Based on, you know, based on a showing that they are not able to pay.
So my proposal was not based on their inability to pay. It was simply based on the fact that it was their first time. They were only going, let's say, 8 miles over the speed limit. Not that that is to negate what's going on, but we want to make sure that we are not, just because we anticipate the placement of many of these cameras may be located. I don't, if it becomes an area of, it's not something I want to kill this motion over, but I do want to make sure that we have contemplated this and have an answer for this. So I would still be in favor of the motion with it being returned for some clarification on the ability to provide some level of discretion or leeway on for the first year or 6 months of the actual implementation of these cameras.
Councilwoman Hodge Washington, Mayor, members of the council, we could look at that, and prior to issuing the RFP, we can circle back to you on what we find in that regard. The only thing that comes to mind is it just would increase the cost. As we talked about, the first 30 days cost us about $10,000. So we would have to make some sort of estimates for the number of individuals that we think we would be waiving based on, you know, some sort of factor. But again, we could evaluate that and then bring that back to you prior to issuing the RFP so that everyone is on the same page.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So the motion will stay the same, but we'll have a report. And if we could also, I assume there's real scholarship about whether the fee is needed to save lives and change behavior, or if just getting the notice changes behavior. So perhaps you could give us what have been the results with different implementation timeframes in other communities. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Councilwoman, wait, who wishes to still speak? Councilwoman O'Brien.
And so just to go to Councilwoman Hodge Washington's comments, during this presentation during TIP, we did talk about a period of time, a grace period, and information and education campaign, because ultimately what we want is the behavior to change. And but I do want to clarify, the cost is $10,000 per 30 days per camera. And so I think originally when we had that discussion about it being potentially longer than 30 days, though, if you're not getting some kind of notice, you may or may not know that you have that you've actually run the red light. I mean, right, some people there's no way but to know that they ran the red light. There are some that may not realize they've run the red light. So I would be curious about the cost. Is that $10,000 per camera per 30 days? Would that include a notice so folks could know that they had run a red light and that the system is coming?
Mayor and Council, yes, the plan was still to send some sort of notice with the educational information during that 30 days. We know that what the estimated cost is, the $10,000 per camera for a 30-day period.
Okay, I appreciate that. And so I want to say thank you to Vice Mayor Stark. This has been something that I have wanted to bring back to the city since I started on council. Literally nearly every day we get some kind of contact at my office regarding speeding up and down neighborhood streets, major arterial roads, and running red lights. Like Diane, I believe, said earlier, my husband and I play the same, I guess, ugly game. How many red light runners are we going to count when we drive through the city? And it's not really a game, given the fact that somebody is likely to die if that, that could be the outcome, and that is part of the problem. You don't need to look at data. Most folks who are in Arizona or in Phoenix know that we have some dangerous intersections. We have it, but you don't really have to see it to know that. My district has, in the top 30 intersections based on MAG, we have over 16% of the most dangerous intersections. I used to live in Councilwoman Stark's district, where 7th Street and Bell was the most dangerous intersection. The 5th largest city in the country, and again, we're still behind in technology. We were behind when we brought drones here. Automated enforcement is not a pioneering path that no one has ever dared to go down before. And I know Phoenix had it before and took it away. But it's just frustrating to me. Our neighboring cities have it. And Mesa has it, and Paradise Valley and Scottsdale, and none of them have intersections in the top 50 according to MAG. We're down almost 600 officers in the city of Phoenix. We don't have the manpower to patrol our streets. I would prefer it is officers out there, because officers have the opportunity to educate and have those conversations, especially with those young teenagers or young drivers who are just moving a little too quickly or aren't really paying attention. So I'd rather we have our officers patrolling our over 5,000 miles of streets in Phoenix. This is just another tool in our toolbox to help us keep our families, our visitors, our business owners safe. When we had our community meeting last October to bring these ideas and solutions to my community, and they were asked to, which one did they want? They wanted all 4. And until we forced them to prioritize, I will tell you, it's still, they wanted all 4. So I understand that folks are concerned about cameras and privacy, but we are also concerned about safety. And I will be supporting this item and look forward to getting it out into our communities as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. in 2 weeks, we will know the results of Prop 479. That plan includes significant funding that can be used for better technology for many areas, including safety. So it is possible we will become leaders as a region should Prop 479 be successful. Councilwoman Pastor.
Thank you. My understanding is is it January 2025 is when you want to release the RFP? Or 2025? Just
Mayor and council, we're looking at basically the first quarter of 2025.
okay. So we have the first quarter. How long does an RFP take? I say 6 months to a year, but I want to hear from you.
Mayor and council, yes, 6 months is pretty typical.
Okay. So I'm in my head, and I'm probably off in math, but predicting maybe a year from now, we will have red light cameras.
Mayor and council, our proposal right now is to get them started in the fall.
Okay.
So we're trying our best to make that a shorter timeline.
Okay. I guess where I'm trying to go with the back and forth in the conversation is that right now we have some time to start the education. And I'm wanting to see, because I'm going to be proactive, I would like to see education starting as soon as we vote and figure out what that education campaign is and really start the education as we're moving through this process. And be able to come up with a timeline. I know that is additional money, but I think in between there, and we can all bring it back and discuss it, we can figure out if we can go the 6 months for less than 10 miles per hour. And as Councilwoman Hodge Washington was proposing, and in between there, we have enough time to determine what is really best for our city. It's not my city, it's our city. And each one of our sections of our district is very diverse and different in how the impact of these red lights are within our districts and what type of economic status they're in. And so it's really looking at this in a holistic way and being able to make it so that it's equitable and fair. So thank you.
Thank you. And I think the council wants to move as quickly as practicable. Does the motion allow you to choose between an RFP and perhaps participating in a procurement from another jurisdiction? Okay. So we'll give you some flexibility, noting that we want to start saving lives as soon as we can with this tool. All right. Roll call.
Galindo Elvira.
Yes.
Guardado.
Yes.
Hodge Washington.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Pastor.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Waring.
No.
I think that was a no.
Sorry, I didn't hear that. Okay, he dropped. Stark.
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 8-0.
I think Councilman Waring said no. Yeah.
No?
Okay.
We can register it no.
Uh-huh.
I'll double check with him. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Okay.
Wonderful. But still, by a strong majority, we are moving forward. We are adjourned.
Waiting for others to join.
Can take the concepts of leadership, collaboration, sustainability out of the classroom and put it into practice with the Garfield Garden on the Corner. Garfield remains a key